Hello everybody and welcome to another video. If you're new, please consider subscribing and leaving a like on this video. So, today I'm going to be doing a breakdown of the Nevada Senate and Governor race, why Republicans will take it back, and why we need to focus more of our energy on important races like this, and how we can do that. So, recently we got a poll out of Trafalgar Group, one of the better pollsters, one of the more accurate ones, I would argue. We saw Adam Laxalt ahead by about 2.4%, and Joe Lombardo ahead by about 2.6% in this poll, with about 5.5% undecided in both of them. The party participation, Democrats are ahead by about 2%, and then there's a large portion unaffiliated. And then on top of that, we also have the demographics, fairly standard for Nevada. And then on top of that, the gender participation. So, taking this into account, we're seeing that Republicans are gaining steam. They have a good chance to win here, and I do think they will win in this state. Adam Laxalt being a very good candidate and former Attorney General of the state, and Joe Lombardo, as we can see here, this is Laxalt, the former sheriff of Clark County, where the election will ultimately come down to, Clark County. So if we look at the margins in 2020, we see Clark County was about 9 points ahead for Biden. Now, that is a margin that can be made up by Republicans in the state. Not 100%, but we can get closer and closer, with the only difference being about 31,000 votes in the state or so. So that can be made up in both Clark County and in Washoe County, which is also even closer and can be made up in a red wave year from a blue national environment where Nevada itself was trending to the right, despite the country's national environment being to the left. We see this how quickly Nevada has shifted from 2008 from a D+13 state to only a +3 and potentially a R+1 or 2 by 2024, especially if we can get Laxalt and Lombardo the victory in the midterms come November. So, on top of that, we also have these polls. A lot of them do seem to favor Democrats, it kind of seems like anyway. But if we look at most of these polls, outside of a couple, most of them are registered voter polls that have the Democrat ahead, Cortez Masto, over Adam Laxalt. The ones that have likely voters are the ones that have Laxalt ahead, for the most part, give or take a couple of them. And the large undecided margins are also something to consider, except for this poll, which is a very small sample size and I'd assume outlier considering. But nonetheless, you should not be doing polls based on registered voters. Only likely voters makes more sense. I'm not going to get into that right now. In the future, I could do a video on that. But point is, most of the polls that do by likely voters, for the most part, have Laxalt ahead, and especially Trafalgar being, I'd argue, one of the more accurate ones, have him ahead. Now, considering, again, trends from the 2020 results, we saw Nevada shifting to the right, and we also saw that Latino voters are shifting to the right as well, and they make up a fairly large portion of Nevada's electorate. We saw Hispanic voters shift in California's recall election to the right by a fairly large margin, and those trends continuing as well as in Texas will also have a positive impact on any Republicans running in Nevada, a fairly large state for Hispanic population. So, taking that poll as well into account, the trends, and Joe Lombardo being from the sheriff of Clark County, that will help him here in Clark County, where he needs to make up the most ground and is where he would need to win the election ultimately. There, and of course Washoe County. So, based on these numbers, I see it likely that both Laxalt and Lombardo can win by about 1 to 2, maybe even 3 points, assuming Republicans put more energy and funding behind their campaigns and stop focusing on races that are less likely to be won and less important. These kinds of races are more important, and Republicans need to focus on them. That is how we can further the America First agenda and win elections effectively, which the Republican Party has failed to do for far too long. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed that video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Comment, let me know what you think about my videos, what you think about this video specifically, and the Nevada elections. If you want to see any further content, I post weekly videos as well as I post on my other socials consistently on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram. The links will be in the description below. Anyways, that's all for now. Hope you guys have a good night.